Actually forget others. Today might be the first time you meet the real you. You see, loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about being unseen, not being known. It's that weird emptiness that lingers even after a good conversation. It's laughing in the right moments, saying the right things, but still feeling like you weren't really there. That's why so much of the fixed loneliness advice fails, because it treats loneliness like a contact issue. Join more groups, meet more people, send more messages. Or my favorite, you spend too much of time online and not enough time connecting in person. Here's the truth. If the version of you that shows up is artificially engineered, more contact doesn't create more connection. It just creates more performance, whether online or in person. So today we're not chasing more interaction. We're fixing the layer underneath it, the persona problem, and the practical steps to help you become more congruent so that people actually meet the real you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lakan, and if you're new here, I help ambitious, future-conscious leaders and people make better decisions and build holistic success across the core pillars of life in a rapidly changing world. Today, we'll be exploring some key evidence-based insights to help you better design an approach that best suits you, your situation, circumstances, and seasons of life. Over here, we're allergic to generic advice and hacks, the kind that sounds convincing but really works for anybody. Specifically, we'll be looking at insights pertaining to the persona problem, which we covered in the previous video. We'll look at patterns worth recognizing, the principles underneath them, and a few practical steps you can do right away. And if by the end you have insights worth sharing, I would love to hear about those from you. Let's go. So the persona problem is where you portray an artificially engineered version of yourself to others, but the real you stays hidden. Therefore, this persona is what gets attention, not the real you, leaving you feeling more lonely and disconnected. For this, we can apply what I call the dual engine problem, which is self-awareness plus self-creation. You see, self-awareness is just looking at and understanding who you already are. Hence, it's like trying to look in the rear view mirror whilst trying to move forward. But only focusing on who you want to become is like building a skyscraper in a swamp. You might build something impressive, but it will collapse because there wasn't any foundation. This is why it's so important for both engines to be running. So self-awareness is your inventory. It shows you the materials you already have, your temperament, strengths, and triggers. Self-creation is the blueprint, the vision of how you want to assemble these materials into the life that you're trying to build. Here's a quick exercise you can do in under 2 minutes. Close your eyes and, for a moment, meditate inward on the person you are. Not the person that you should be, but who you've actually been lately. Let yourself see you and feel you. Then, gently shift your gaze outward. Now imagine your life 10 years from now. Picture it vividly, your relationships, work, finances, health, yourself. Don't try to analyze or rationalize it. Just allow your vision to develop. And that's it. You've just done a fast scan of your inventory and blueprint. By the way, don't worry if your mind wandered. The point isn't to do it perfectly. The point is to notice any contrast. What does the present version of you feel like? Tight, rushed, guarded, calm? And what does the 10-year version feel like? Lighter, grounded, clear? Even a small difference is data, and that gap is where the persona lives. Now let's explore some deeper insights. Most people try to begin with why, which for many is very difficult to do. This idea of starting with why is theoretically powerful, but practically it can leave many people stuck. The reason is that why is very abstract and often has multiple layers. So let's look at a framework I developed over a decade ago. What, 3 why, how. It actually began as a simple method which I used to better answer critical essay questions, but over time developed into something much greater, a way to cultivate genuine self-awareness. It's not necessary, but this framework works best when you pair it with meditation and journaling. Meditation gives you depth and clarity, helping you see beneath the surface, whilst journaling gives you continuity, a record to track where you've been and how far you've come. So we begin with the what. Define it simply. For example, I want to be successful in my career, or I want to feel close and safe in my relationship. No long story, no justification, just the essence. Then we move into 3 iterations of why. You could go further, but 3 is the perfect balance between getting close enough to the root without spiraling down a rabbit hole. The first why is surface level. Ask yourself, why do I want that? Keep it simple. For instance, because I want to feel secure and respected, or because I don't want to feel alone, even when I am with someone. The second why goes much deeper. Ask, why does this matter to me so much? Here the answers reveal more vulnerable truths. For example, because my worth is tied into my achievements, so without it I feel behind. Or because when I feel distant, I start doubting myself and my relationship. The third why often touches the root. This is usually a core fear or belief. For example, because somewhere along the way I learned that being loved is conditional. It has to be earned through being impressive, useful, or low maintenance. So if I'm not achieving, I don't just fear failing, I fear losing my place. Or because I learned that closeness can be unstable. If I relax and fully become myself, connection can become withdrawn. So I start managing the relationship, reading subtext, avoiding conflict, performing fine, just to keep that bond intact. And finally, we arrive at the how. This is where you choose a response that aligns with the person you want to become. For example, the next time I feel pressure, I'll ask for clarity instead of overperforming. Or the next time I feel distance, I'll name it gently and ask for connection instead of withdrawing. And over time, something shifts. You stop confusing yourself with the persona you were performing and start seeing who you really are. That clarity is transformative. I know because I went through that myself. Now that you've done the self-awareness work, you have your inventory. You know who you are and begun to see who you want to become. But remember, self-awareness is not enough. You can understand yourself for years and still live the same way. This is why you need the second engine, self-creation. This is where you intentionally design who you want to be and the life you want to have. The one tool that has helped me profoundly in this process is a simple vision board, although not in the way most people create and use it. You see, most vision boards are mind-led, born from logic, what's realistic, what makes sense, what should I aim for? The problem is that your mind is protective. It edits your future down to what feels safe. That is how you end up playing small, falling short of your potential without even realizing it. This is why I prefer starting with a heart-led approach. The logistics of the mind can come later. So start by collecting images that resonate with you at an intuitive level. You may not be able to even explain why they hit, but you feel something when you see it. A sense of expansion, alignment, truth, or purpose. These can also be sourced from any platform, and I perhaps should mention that this vision board is not an annual exercise. This version is mid to long term, stretching 5 to 10 years into the future. And here are 2 examples of what this can look like. First, you may be drawn to images that represent meaningful ambition and contribution, not just achievement and accumulation. Work that feels purposeful, a career that's defined not by how much you can get, but actually by how much you can give. Or you might choose images that capture the depth and intimacy with a partner, a candlelit moment, eyes meeting in close connection, closeness, warmth, and desire. The key is not to rationalize it too early. If you can fully explain it, you may have already filtered out what is probably most important. Now, once you have enough images, step back and look for any patterns. What themes keep on appearing? These will usually relate to the why we identified in the previous exercise. Now, this is where the mind becomes useful again, because we need a strategy. When the vision is heart-led, the mind stops limiting the destination and starts exploring routes. Ask yourself, what are the possible paths to achieve this? Use the insights identified from the self-awareness work to leverage your strengths. Consider your current circumstances and identify what needs to change in your environment to bring this vision closer. Another practice that has helped me is to keep my vision board free of words. purely images. And I create a high quality digital version, which I print and keep in my office as a constant reminder. When your vision board is this intuitively powerful, you don't need a rigid plan to keep you disciplined. The strategy you defined would be enough. And this also keeps you flexible, being able to recognize and seize opportunities that may arise, instead of being boxed in by a rigid plan that blinds you to higher leverage opportunities. And from my own experience, there's been so many goals that I believed were impossible that I achieved so much sooner than I thought. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to take you through this exact exercise in another video. Now you have the inventory and the blueprint, but there's a missing piece, which is the execution in the moment. That's where authenticity lives. And the simplest way I frame authenticity is by using this formula. Authenticity is equal to confidence plus courage. Confidence is internal. It's the floor beneath you. It's the belief that you'll be okay no matter the situation. Even if someone disapproves or the interaction is messy or you stumble, you know that you will remain intact and overcome that adversity. Courage is external. It's the door you walk through. It's the decision to stop the performance and in that moment, be the real you in real time. And you need both together. If you have confidence without courage, you can slip into arrogance. You start calling it authenticity, but it's just disguised as superiority. This I am guilty of. You are only real when it costs you nothing. That is just another mask, another persona that looks like strength. On the other hand, if you have courage without confidence, you become fragile. You might be real, but every rejection feels like proof that something's wrong with you. So you over-explain, retreat, and decide that authenticity isn't worth it. So what we're aiming for is not bravado or emotional recklessness. It's a grounded type of authenticity where the floor and door are working together. You're grounded enough inside to be okay and brave enough outside to be real. So start paying attention to these two things in real time. First, your floor. Do I feel internally safe enough to be honest here, or am I going to just perform for approval? Second, your door. What is one small true thing that I can say or share now that reflects who I really am without oversharing? When you practice that combination, you stop treating authenticity like this dramatic reveal and you start living it quietly. And that's when the glass wall begins to thin, because people are not meeting the performance, they are meeting the real you. Now, to my loyal viewers, you may be thinking, hang on, you just touched on the persona problem, what about the others? No worries, these will be covered in the upcoming weeks. So if you remember one thing, let it be this. Loneliness doesn't vanish when you add more people to your life. It slowly disappears when you become known in the life you already have. And that starts with congruence, when your outside aligns with your inside. Self-awareness gives you the inventory of what's going on behind the mask. Self-creation gives you the blueprint for the life you want to create. And when both these engines start running together, you stop performing connection and start experiencing it. And that's the shift from being light for the performance to being met for the real you. But I'm curious to hear from you. How are you going to build deeper relationships? Or are you even going to do that? And more importantly, if you have any insights worth sharing. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. And follow me on my other platforms, because this month we're exploring the art of connection. Thrive tomorrow, live fully today.